So today is nine. It is night time for you.
Yes, sir. It's
Yeah.
yeah, early morning about 12:30. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So we are disturbing you.
No, no, no problem at all, sir. Happy to talk with you all for sure.
Okay, we will start. Yeah, just let me. Good morning to everyone. Today, let us have alumni interaction. That is higher opportunities for higher education. Rajesh Raghavan is one of our alumni. He joined our college in the year 2012. Let me remember him. His batchmate has done wonderful project, that is development of soil loosening equipment for medium and large sized fields of sugarcane. This project was sponsored by KSCST, and also they have exhibited this project state level competition at Vijapur. It won the first prize at the state level. It was the first time in mechanical engineering got first prize at state level. Right now, Rajesh is working as an energy engineer and performs retro commissioning audits in commercial and public facilities with an intent to identify energy saving opportunities associated with heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. He currently works for a company called Nexant and is living in Grand Rapids, Michigan. After his graduation, I think 2016 onwards, he went to US for his MS. After his MS, he joined the company. He is working in the area of energy energy saving field itself. So let me just ask Mr. Rajesh Raghavan to interact with you people so that you can get lot of opportunities, how we can move ahead with the competitive exam, what are the opportunities available in the higher education. Rajesh? So over
Sure.
to Rajesh.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. And good namaskara. Thanks, sir, for that introduction. As he mentioned, I hope it can be an interaction. And he also said, it's 12:30 a.m. here. It's quite early in the morning, so keep questions coming or any feedback coming. So I'll briefly just share a presentation. I mean, it's nothing formal. It's just so it helps me talk what I wanted to share with you all. I just let me know if you're able to see a presentation screen. If anyone can just confirm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can see it, Rajesh.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, as I was saying, as Sir mentioned, I work for a company called Nexant Inc. as an energy engineer, and I just wanted to briefly talk about what this energy engineer. And I noticed that there's a spelling mistake in engineer, so apologies. Um, yeah, what this role is, because it was completely new to me, and I quite honestly do not know that such an industry even existed until like 2017. It was almost like a year after I started my master's, so I had no idea what I really wanted to do, but I was glad to know that such a field even existed. So for that, just kind of wanted to briefly just touch on some topics. Some of you may be already familiar with this, but for folks who are not familiar, I hope you find it interesting. First is just like, what is energy efficiency, right? So it's something as simple as just making sure that you're using lesser energy consumption. And a simple example is, if you consider just a residential house or any of your regular houses, it's like turning the light bulbs or fan, or just turning off the TV when you're not needing it, or just when no one is there in a particular room, you can just turn off any equipment that consumes electricity. So that's an energy saving opportunity. When you look at a house, you don't typically consider it, or think about how you can save energy, because it's not a such a large cost when you consider all other expenses in a household. But if you put that to context, like an industry or a high-rise building, and high-rise building in India is, you would look at it as a mall, which is anywhere from 4 to 5, 6 floors, but large area. But when you talk about some other cities here, like city of Chicago, you have sky rises that are about 60, 70 floors. And there, when you're talking about 1 or 2 light bulbs per floor, there is significant energy use. So it means a lot of money that can be saved too. So that's why it's an important field. And how does this work, right? So you have utility companies in the US, similar to how in India you have a company that generates power and supplies that to your houses, offices, schools, and whatnot. So these utility companies run energy efficiency programs. They basically tell their end users that if you find any energy saving opportunities, we'll give you money back on the amount of energy that you have saved. Right. So when I first heard about it, I was like, that's a mad concept. Why is the provider giving me money to save on a product that they are selling to me? Right. If you just think about it. But utility companies, the advantage that they have is the lesser energy that you use, the lesser the load is on their end to generate power. Generating power is a very expensive tool because right now, as companies and countries are moving to more renewable resources, you need to save money there. It is a big factor. So yeah, so that's kind of the 2 points on the utility companies. And so briefly mentioned, I do retro commissioning audits. Again, this is a word I quite honestly did not know existed until 2 years back. I did not know what retro commissioning was until I started my current role. But I just wanted to touch on commissioning. For some of you may be familiar, but commissioning is when you construct a new building, you commission it to ensure that all the HVAC pressures, building pressure are all appropriate, right? So sometimes you don't want like leaky floors or leaky windows in buildings. So commissioning is to ensure that the building is solid and it's good to move in. It can happen for your residential apartments, regular apartments, or any office spaces and whatnot. So retro commissioning is after it's been commissioning, like a few years after you go back and check, well, are the systems still operating as they're intended to and whatnot? And it's a big industry here because you have a lot of weather seasonal variations, and I'll share some images which are quite interesting and unique to the field and this country here because of how weather is very seasonal. You have extremely cold weather and extremely warm summers, and in India, it's not that what should I say? It's not that drastic between winters and summers. And just another interesting concept, again, this was very new to me and I thought it'd be cool to share is monitoring based commissioning is you're 24/7 and 365 days in a year, you're continuously monitoring energy consumption parameters for a building just to see, are they operating energy efficiently or not, or what is the consumption? Sorry, that's probably way too technical and too dragged off, but just wanted to share a couple of images here to talk about why energy saving is important. So these are a couple of pictures from my front door when a snowstorm hit. Actually, it was this Feb. We had like about 16, 18 inches of snow, and for 2 days we were locked in because no one cleared all the front snow you see here, and my car is probably like submerged under one of the snow. It's actually the car right there. But yeah, so you need to heat houses, right? So there is 24/7 air conditioning being provided to all the spaces in the country. So naturally, they're going to look to save energies, and it's so weather dependent because this is in February and you're going to heat this building very high, but the same amount of heat you don't have to provide in July, which is a summer month. So you look for energy saving opportunities and whatnot, which is why there's also 24/7 air conditioning. It's not a concept that you would typically come across in India, right? You don't need air conditioning. So I'll take a pause. I mean, if anyone has any questions, comments, feel free to jump in. I don't have access to the chat, so if you're chatting something that I can't see, so I'd rather just you ask it. So don't hesitate at all any point. Just moving along, I just wanted to share like a couple of systems that I deal with, right? These are, again, I had no idea how these operated, fairly had a theoretical knowledge, but excuse me, it's interesting to see how these systems operate in a facility. What you see on the left side here is it's just a cooler. So it's where they store like kitchen products and whatnot. They maintain it at a temperature of 0 degrees Celsius. So the fans that you see on the top there, they're evaporator fans. So it's just refrigerant flowing through coils and the fan blowing cooler to maintain the temperature. And it's pretty simple refrigeration concept. So the right side is, again, it was very new to me and I didn't know, is something I have not seen in India at all. Is is rooftop units. These are present, but they're typically constructed indoors. Here they do it outdoors. So in this unit to the right, there's a compressor that cools, and there is a hot water coil that heats the air based on what temperature you want for the space. When you say energy saving opportunities, one might ask the question is, when you're looking at a system like this, how do you identify? How do you say, if I do X, I will save Y amount of energy? A couple of other interesting snaps are we review something called as building automation system. This is basically a digital overview of the mechanical system. So what you're seeing here is in a facility, how a boiler is connected to two pumps to supply hot water. We kind of review these to see how the building operates. Something if you may have noticed is you'll see a lot of degree Fahrenheit instead of degree Celsius. It's kind of an annoying change. If at all you decide to come over here, is they use the imperial units, and all you guys might have studied is the SI units. So it'll take some time to kind of get used to that, but you'll catch on very quickly. But yeah, it's basically just in short, what it is telling, if you see on the left hand side, if you just pay some attention, it says hot water system OA enables at 0.90 degrees. It means if outdoor air temperature falls below 90°F, which is somewhere about 35, 40 degrees Celsius, the boiler system should be enabled. Again, that's based on an outdoor air sensor that's reading the temperature and giving the relay to the boiler. Sorry, I'll stop getting too technical. One last graph, and I'll stop boring you about my work here. But this graph, again, another problematic graph. I thought this was very interesting because the way I learned it also was quite interesting, is what you're looking at is an air handling unit, which is supposed to supply conditioned air to a particular room or a particular space. The graph is something called as discharge air temperature and supply fan status. So if the fan status is on, assume that the air handling unit is on. What you see there is off. What you see in the pink is the discharge air temperature. So if you see on the right side, the y-axis, it kind of varies from 70 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So 70 to 100 is anywhere between 18 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius. So something is heating this air from 18 to 30, 18 to 30 constantly. So the very interesting example someone taught me was imagine a bike, and if you start it and stop it and cycle it in every second, what is going to happen to that bike? Something's going to happen to that engine, right? It's not going to respond rightly because of that cycling. So that's an error that you identify in this particular rooftop unit. Now, an opportunity is how do we identify and how do we stop this? And that's an energy saving recommendation. So the energy savings is from not heating this air continuously and using that thermal energy to constantly keep increasing it and cooling it. Just wanted to touch on just my educational background and how basically I started here. Yeah, like the reason I'm talking to you is, of course, I did my BE in JSSATE, part of the 2016 batch. Right after that, I went to pursue my master's. Did my master's in mechanical engineering. If I'm being completely honest, when I started doing my master's, I had no idea what I wanted to specialize in. I went with an intent to say I'll do manufacturing and design, but very soon I learned that it's not something that I'm interested in. And in general, job prospects for international students in that field is quite limited as well. I was lucky to get an internship in a place called Industrial Assessment Center. It's an US government-run program where they fund students to do energy audits in industrial facilities. So I was lucky to kind of identify that field, and that's when I really learned that such a field even existed and picked onto that niche field and kind of moved into that for my career as well. I would attribute everything to just being there at the right time and mainly to luck. So I was lucky to kind of move into this energy efficiency field, which kind of like helped me finish my master's real quick and kind of start working too. It's very concentrated to this country and some of the other European countries too. I have not yet come across such a kind of work in India. The typical work you do with HVAC is actually designing the systems, like in an MEP firm, if that's something you're interested in. Just wanted to share this because I thought it might be interesting for one or two people who might be listening. I didn't know that such a field existed when I was studying for my bachelor's, or even during the first semester of my master's as well. Something I wanted to just share, just wanted to share the some tips, maybe just notes for you guys to consider, not just for higher education, but anything in general. Just decide on what you want to do. It can be you would like to work, take a break, or continue to pursue your education right after. Just you do what you want to do, because I know folks who were scoring extremely high during their bachelor's who are out of work now, and I know people who are getting first class, second class, who are now working, in companies making six figures around. So it doesn't matter how fast you do it or when you do it, just decide what you want to do at your own pace. Something else to consider when you're looking at higher education is cost. It's definitely talked about. I feel like we are short, but if US is expensive in terms of how much you pay, so I had to take a loan and kind of use that loan money itself. But otherwise, Europe and other places have free education. There are universities that are state universities where the fees is very low. And I have some friends from JSS as well are studying in a few universities in Germany. And if at all you're looking for outside universities, look at what universities there are. That's based on what you want to study, what kind of job you want to do after you graduate, because it's important. I mean, it's mechanical engineering is very broad. It's like an umbrella. There are tons of opportunities in different industries that we're almost not exposed to, because the situation is that while you're studying, your interaction with industry is very minimum, and right after your graduation, you're thrown into an industry where you have no interaction or no familiarity at all. I mean, you guys are in 7th semester, in your 3 years, how many times would you visited an industry? Probably under 5, maybe. At least, I mean, I don't want to speak for you. In my case, I don't think until I had to do an internship, I actually walked into an industry. And even then it was okay. It was more so they were just showing like what was on the outside. So figure out what kind of a job you want to do and try to learn towards that, because in your master's, you're going for a specialization. You don't want to be studying the same things that you studied in your bachelor's again. Quite honestly, it's just a waste of money. Then each university has an application process. Kind of figure that out. It's not something you'd be used to doing in India because you don't have such a concept. So learn through that. Talk to professors and other students. Don't hesitate to send anyone an email. They're almost always ready to connect. At the latest, they might respond a few days late, but find other Indian students who are in such universities. They're almost always a resource. They've been in your position. They're happy to help you. And it's kind of like the cycle kind of continues almost always with all students who come here. And yeah, the last point I kind of harped on already. Look at current industry standards. Keep up with what's happening in the industry. I mean, you guys chose engineering. You're in your 7th sem. Most of you will continue to do a mechanical engineering job unless you decide to go MBA or whatever other route it is. That's fine. But look into the industry standards. Quite honestly, I don't think anyone ever has asked me to show me my degree. No one's asked me to see my master. It literally means nothing. It's just a certificate. But look into what skills you can harbor and what the industry is asking. So if you have skills and kind of the aptitude, you should be fine. I didn't have real much to fill the whole hour, but that's all I had wanted to share. And here's my email ID. If you want to reach out, ask any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll move to chat and stop sharing my screen here.
Yeah, very nice, Rajesh. Very nice presentation. I hope my students have already gained some knowledge about how the higher education, what they have to plan, how they have to move. And you also highlighted about energy saving. One is energy generation is also important concept, but now energy saving comes on top of that. Whatever we are going to generate, that is not sufficient. We have to save the energy also. Where you are working, that field is also very nice. Now let me invite our student if they want to have any interactive session or any questions, they can get it clarified. Anyone? Rohit, Sachin BA, anybody there? Anybody can ask. Interactive session. Jayant.
That's fine, sir. I totally understand. I've been in their position too, so
Yeah,
that's okay. Does
yeah,
GPA matter? I mean, in from your undergrad, technically, no, it does matter. They do ask if you're going for higher education, they do ask for your marks card and whatnot, but the emphasis is more so on your entrance exams.
yeah.
They do consider, but not as much important as the entrance exams that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So Anand sir, yeah, Anand sir is there.
Yes.
Pratik is asking entrance exam like something.
Yeah, GRE, IELTS, and TOEFL. So yeah, if you want to come to the US, you will write your GRE no matter what, and TOEFL you'll write for English proficiency. Yeah, I took GRE and TOEFL. GRE is both math and English, and TOEFL is just basic English. TOEFL is kind of they're two separate exams, so those
Okay.
are the ones that you need to do.
So they need an extra coaching for these exams.
I mean, it depends. If they're able to study on their own, if they're really good students, they can definitely do it on their own. I know friends who have done it, but I was definitely not that category. So I did have to get extra coaching. I would recommend using it just because, they will give you like they'll give you past question papers, they'll help you answer that,
Yeah.
and you're kind of studying with other people too. So
Yeah, that may be better under some
I,
guidance. If they do it success, it will be better.
I would agree.
Yeah. 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 So probably which is the most running field in US right now where you are there, either energy or some other field must be there out there. No? Because our
Um,
students gain up some basic knowledge here before they are entering to the US, which will help them if you are going to just give a broad explanation which field they can go.
Sure.
Opportunity wise.
Yeah. Like I said, it depends because we in India, if you consider all students, they have an equal opportunity to get into any kind of role. But in US, you are limited because you are a foreign national, and you have like visa issues that may come up and whatnot. So, uh, typically, I would say if you have an interest in energy, renewable energy, that's a really high demand, and it's an industry that's not going to die even as economic conditions change. So it's really a prospective industry. Design, there's a lot of engineers doing a lot of research in universities on design, 3D modeling. 3D modeling, especially in biomechanics, is basically how to replace like knee replacement using 3D printed particles.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's more economic. So there's a lot of research going, and that's a multifunctional field, which is biology and mechanics, and it's kind of it's very new.
okay,
Robotics, there's a lot of work going on robotics because a lot of automation is taking place. It's still a very high demand industry. Something that is very recently integrating to mechanical engineering is data science and data analysis, because any industry is now looking at what data and what the trends are saying.
yeah,
So one thing I would highly recommend to all, just a tip, I mean, because I quite honestly struggled when I came here, is just learn some basic Excel. Even for Indian market, if you're going to work, just learn some Excel. Just do a couple of certifications to get a
yeah,
basic understanding, because if you don't know programming, Excel is the first that extra skill that you can possess outside of engineering degree, quite honestly. If you folks have the flexibility to learn some programming, I would recommend, because my mindset during undergrad was, oh, mechanical is going to stay away from computers, but that's definitely not the case. There's so much interfunctionality between the two industries that almost everyone are going to automation and looking into computers to do their work. Like the screenshots that I showed you about those graphs, that I can sit at home and look at how a facility is operating 2 cities away. I don't even have to go on site to do my analysis. So all that is because of computers and programming. So I would recommend, if you have time, definitely invest something into that too.
Okay. Right. And one more the question before they're selecting the university, they need to establish their contact with a certain professor in that university, or it is not necessary?
It's not necessary, but it's good to know that a professor of your interest is 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 teaching that. I mean, the way you approach these universities, because it's not just you take certain courses, you write the exam and you finish. You have to do a final year project, and for that
Okay.
final year project, you need a professor.
Yeah.
And if you walk into their first day of school, they're not going to know you. So you need to establish a relationship with them before saying that, hey, I like the work that you do, and
Yeah.
I would like you to be my mentor. So you need a mentor for 2 years, and you need an individual mentor. So that's why you establish contact with your professor. I didn't, quite honestly, I didn't.
Okay.
I went and established, which is why I wasted my first semester, because I spent time reaching out to different professors. So
Yeah.
it's a simple job of just looking at what all university websites have the faculty list. It's all this I'm saying, it's just a simple Google search, and you will get it within the first 2-3 links within a
Yeah.
university web page. Their email addresses are public, so feel free to send anyone an email asking about what work do you do, and this is
Yeah.
my interest, can I be your student?
Okay. That means some homework our student has to do it, such like entrance exam and connect to some professor, universities, all
uh,
these. Yeah.
Most definitely, just
Yeah.
because when you come here, I mean, I'm just talking from my experience. When you came here, I didn't know how this system worked, how you interact with professors, how you interact with other people. So there's a cultural change to, in addition
Yeah.
to just, hey, you're coming to a different country.
Correct.
So it took some time to navigate. But if you do a lot of this homework back in India, like just reaching out to people, you've already broken that barrier of interacting with them when you're already in this country or in the university. So that's kind of the advantage, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice, Rajesh, which you have highlighted lot many things. All these information probably the student need not to ask everything you answered right now itself. It may be easy for them to look for higher opportunities in abroad. Let me
Yeah.
have yeah. Let me have a one more chance to the student. Any more points which you have forgotten? You can highlight and get it clarified. So, are you planning back to India for some time? Maybe a
Not until not
vacation or
until Yes, sir. Not until like the pandemic subsides. So until I
okay,
get so yeah, here it's pretty rampant. So until I maybe get the vaccine, probably will not come
okay,
back.
okay. But India, the vaccine is there right now. They're giving the vaccine now. What about
Right. Again, here, sir, because we're foreign nationals, we're kind of lower priority. So just stay at home as much as you can
oh,
and get it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wouldn't
yeah,
say lower priority, but they're still getting through the top people on the list, like the frontline workers, before they distribute to general public.
yeah. That is correct. That is correct.
So, quick question.
Yeah,
Mhm.
please.
So, like extracurriculars, like make up a profile, sir. Like for example, when you are applying to university, does it
Yes.
extracurriculars?
Yes. So yeah. Okay. No one don't refer to me as sir at all. I'm just like a few years older to you. But yes. So yeah, extracurriculars do make up, because I don't know if this is still the case for entrances. Typically, when you apply for an application, you write something called as a statement of purpose, SOPs they're called. I did a very bad job at it, in the sense that I had a few templates and kind of just changed things around and fit it to my case. there you kind of talk to the, you're basically selling yourself to the university that this is who I am. This is the work that I have done, either in terms of courses that you have taken, internships that you have done, or extracurriculars that you are involved with, and you submit it to the university. So your university will review your marks card, that is your 8 semester sheets, your GRE score, your TOEFL score, your SOPs, and your letter of recommendations from either your professors or people you've had a chance to internship at.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
You bet.
So any other? So I think Rajesh, they have satisfied. All my students are satisfied. So okay, thank you very much, Rajesh. If you come back to the India for vacation and other things, just visit us. We will have interaction physical with our students.
Most definitely, sir. Thank you for inviting me. My email address, feel free to share it. I mean, if anyone wants to reach out, please do reach out. No hesitation or no worries at all. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for wonderful interaction with our students.
Yep, of course. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you. Bye. Good night.